getting rid of you and not having no handprints on it. Like this is how they traffic. And so you will have to really not be scared, not be acting like you not scared. You'd have to really be too stupid to be scared.
Pig parties, the dark whispers of Hollywood's underbelly. These are those after-hours secrets where power flips, rules vanish, and the masks come off. Forget the flashing lights and red carpets. This is where stars are really made or destroyed. KA claims the real game in Hollywood doesn't happen on set. It happens in those hidden rooms where deals are sealed with more than signatures. Now here's where it gets explosive. The blogs are dragging David into this same twisted world, all because of what happened to Celeste Riva Hernandez, the 15-year-old found lifeless inside his Tesla. Her cause of death still deferred, her connection to him confirmed by friends who swore she was his college girlfriend. They called him shy, quiet, gentle, but the streets aren't buying that act. They say that kind of silence doesn't come from shyness, it comes from guilt.
Now, there are individuals who have looked to clues in his shows or his songs for alleged connections to Celeste, and to be clear, nothing has officially been verified. Here's the thing, even if you look at lyrics from his song Romantic Homicide from back in 2022, this is what seems to be creating the conversation. The lyrics say, I mean, even in the back of my mind, you died, and I didn't even cry. No, not a single tear. But again, nothing remotely to suggest this has anything to do with Celeste.
And KA's take cuts deep. In Hollywood, nothing comes for free. You want fame, a record deal, the spotlight? Allegedly, there's always a price to pay. Word out there says Celeste wasn't just another tragedy. She was part of a transaction, a sacrifice linked to one of those pig parties. Sounds insane, right? But the timing's too perfect to ignore. David shot from TikTok clips to an Interscope artist with millions of streams and a debut album all in just months. That's when everything in Celeste's world falls apart. She vanishes, reported missing over and over, and then suddenly she's found in the trunk of his Tesla. Instead of a real investigation, we get scraps of info, half-truths, and empty silence. No statement from David, no closure from the coroner, just a cold hush hanging over everything. That's why this story won't die, well, because when Katt Williams said the game is rigged with rituals, people remembered all those other coincidences. Whitney's tragic passing after her comeback party, Kanye losing his mom right when he hit the top, Michael gone before his big tour. The pattern's too eerie. Big star rises, death shadows close behind, and whispers of sacrifice follow every time. And now with David, folks are connecting those dots again. The word is Celeste wasn't just caught in the chaos. She was the price of admission. The cost to sit at the same table Katt's been warning about for years. But what is a pig party, really? The name sounds almost ridiculous until you hear what insiders say it means. For decades, that term's been floating through Hollywood like a ghost. Part initiation, part humiliation ritual, and part twisted freak-off for the elite. Allegedly, when you get the invite, it's do or die. You play along, or you're blacklisted. These aren't your champagne and DJ type parties. Oh no. Pig parties are said to go way darker. Hidden cameras, secret tests, people pushed to their limits while powerful eyes watch and record every move. Too bad, because rumor has it, there's already a tape out there. And here's the real shocker. These stories aren't new at all. Way back, people whispered that Hugh Hefner's mansion wasn't a playground. It was a polished up pig party.
Has any idea who is behind this swatting?
No idea. I mean, we've asked police. They want to try and track those things down when it happens, but they don't know on this one. And they, I think they figured out pretty quickly when David's parents came to the door that that's what was going on here. They didn't see any activity, and the area where their home is in a very rural area. It's not like there's a lot of houses around. So, when police are pulling up, there's no activity. It would have been pretty obvious to them if there was some crisis going on as they pulled up.
Sure, but you can't escape the date, September 18th, and it's a day after the LA house that he was renting was raided. Coincidence or something more?
It does seem strange to say that this is coincidence, and his parents said to the police, somebody is messing with us. And clearly, even if David wasn't at the house, his parents are aware of what's going on back in LA.
Even Stanley Kubrick's eyes wide shut. Conspiracy fans swear it wasn't just a movie, it was a warning. They say Kubrick was showing the world what really goes down behind those closed Hollywood doors. Jaguar Wright, Orlando Brown, even Katt Williams himself have all painted the same haunting picture. Secret freak shows where nothing's off limits and innocence gets traded for influence. In that world, pig parties aren't just about wild nights. They're about power. They allegedly serve as twisted initiation ceremonies where new faces are broken down to prove loyalty. That's why Katt keeps saying, Hollywood doesn't reward talent, it rewards obedience. And when someone blows up overnight, the streets can't help but wonder what they left behind at one of those rooms to get there. So where does David fit in? Here's the chilling part. The theory claims Celeste wasn't just his girlfriend. She was brought into that world. Her fake ID, her showing up at clubs, her face seen at industry events she had no business attending. All of it adds fuel to the idea that she was moving in spaces too dark and too grown for someone her age. It's disturbing, but the gossip machine has always said pig parties thrive on imbalance. Power on one side, vulnerability on the other, and a system built to keep it quiet. If David really was in one of those rooms, and if Celeste was there with him, then her end stops looking like a tragedy.
Footage has surfaced that potentially shows Celeste Rivas Hernandez's perhaps final movements caught on tape before she vanished and was ultimately found dead in a car registered to singer David. This, along with new details about that car and how long it may have been abandoned, are giving us a better sense of a timeline as everyone searches.
And starts feeling like a warning. Now here's where things start getting real personal. David isn't some faded celebrity desperate for clout. He was the quiet TikTok kid who came out of nowhere, snagged a major label deal, and dropped an album before most people could even say his stage name right. To fans, it looked like a Cinderella story, a digital age dream come true. But to the gossip crowd, it looked like something darker, a fast track that came with a hidden price tag. Then came Celeste Rivas Hernandez. On paper, she was just a 15-year-old who went missing several times in 2024 before being found lifeless in the trunk of David's Tesla. But when you line up the timeline, it gets eerie. Friends swore they saw her with him often, at clubs, at exclusive events, even at parties where you needed to be 21 just to step inside. Everyone thought she was 19, maybe a USC student, but she wasn't. She was allegedly sneaking into grown spaces with fake IDs, and every time she showed up, David wasn't far behind. That's why the sacrifice talk won't go away. Katt Williams always says, Hollywood don't hand you fame for free, it demands a trade. And in this chilling version of events, Celeste wasn't just a tragedy. She was allegedly the trade. Her disappearances, her missing reports, and her final days line up almost perfectly with the moment David's fame exploded. So people are asking, was she collateral or currency? And here's where it gets even more haunting. David's breakout track Romantic Homicide includes the lyric, "In the back of my mind, I do." At first, everyone brushed it off as edgy heartbreak talk. But now, fans are listening again and wondering if it was more than art. Things started slipping fast. Even that little TikTok clip where David joked about chopping chicken if his girl talked to other dudes, people are now replaying it and calling it a massive red flag. There's no hard proof, sure, but in Hollywood's conspiracy circles, proof isn't what matters. Patterns do. And this pattern, it's one the industry knows all too well. A rising star, a sudden tragedy, silence from the team. Then somehow the career keeps climbing until the whispers catch up. So when folks claim Celeste was David's alleged sacrifice, they're not saying they've got evidence. They're saying the timing is too chilling to ignore. Fame and death overlapping like a script written by fate itself. The idea that one life was cut short so another could rise, and if that moment really tied back to one of those so-called pig parties Katt Williams warned about, then Celeste's death stops looking like an accident and starts feeling like an initiation, allegedly. But here's why this sacrifice theory won't die down. It's not just about David and Celeste. It's part of a much bigger, older Hollywood mythos. For decades, there have been whispers that every major breakthrough comes with a hidden cost. Take Whitney Houston, for example. People still side-eye how she passed away the very same weekend as Clive Davis's legendary pre-Grammy party. Her body upstairs, while the music world toasted downstairs. Eerie, right? And then just a few years later, Her daughter, Bobby Christina, found in nearly the exact same situation. Conspiracy fans call it the double sacrifice, a generational price to keep the machine running. Kanye said it himself, straight up, that his mother, Donda, was his sacrifice. Whether you believe him or not, the timeline is hard to ignore. Right after her passing, his career skyrocketed from rising rapper to full-blown global mogul. Katt Williams always points to Kanye as living proof that even insiders admit this game ain't clean. And then there's Aaliyah. Officially, her death was called a tragic plane crash back in 2001, but the whispers never stopped. People still talk about the shady details, the overloaded plane, the pressure on the pilot, and how her fame was peaking right before it all went down. Her loss didn't just break hearts, it froze her in legend status and, allegedly, left her lane wide open for others to fill. Even Michael Jackson's story follows the same haunting pattern. His death in 2009 came just before his massive This Is It tour, one that would have shifted billions. The autopsy called it a propofol overdose, but the conspiracy crowd sees something deeper. A megastar who got too powerful, too independent, and too hard to control. And don't forget the party culture side of all this madness. Sean Combs' infamous gatherings have long been painted as freak-offs, places where artists are tested, compromised, and controlled behind the scenes. Jaguar Wright swore in interviews that half the industry was owned because of what went down at those events. So when people hear that David was often spotted with Celeste at clubs and invite-only events she should have never been allowed into at her age, everything starts to click. It feels like deja vu, history repeating itself in the ugliest way. Another young star on the rise, surrounded by tragedy, silence from their team, and eerie whispers about something ritualistic behind the scenes. The parallels are impossible to ignore. Whitney, Aaliyah, Kanye's mom, Michael. If it's happened before, who's to say it couldn't happen again? Allegedly, Hollywood doesn't invent new scandals. It just recycles the same ones with fresh faces. And now, some believe Celeste may have become the latest name added to that cursed list. What makes this story hit so hard isn't just Celeste's tragedy or David's sudden come up. It's the feeling that comes with it. That strange deja vu where another bright life fades too soon, another artist shoots up the charts, and once again, Hollywood's darkest rumors seem to line up just a little too perfectly with the headlines. Katt Williams has been warning about this for years, saying the industry doesn't run on talent alone. It runs on tolls. You either pay it or you get locked out. Some think he's just stirring chaos, but with the Celeste situation, his words are starting to sound more like prophecy than comedy. In the silence, that's the loudest part of it all. David hasn't spoken, hasn't posted, hasn't denied a thing. He canceled his tour, ended his lease, and disappeared completely. To fans, it looks like heartbreak or legal strategy. If Celeste's death was really just an accident, then why stay silent this long? Every day, David stays quiet. The whispers grow sharper, meaner, and harder to ignore. For Celeste, her legacy feels heavier with each passing week. She was only 15, missing multiple times, yet somehow slipping into clubs and industry events like a college student chasing her dreams. Instead, she became a cautionary tale. Another young girl swallowed whole by a machine that doesn't care who it breaks as long as the show keeps going. The saddest part? Her name isn't trending for her life. It's trending in conspiracy threads. People aren't remembering her laughter or her goals. They're dissecting her final moments like a puzzle. That's the heartbreak of when gossip meets grief. The truth gets buried under clicks and theories. And Hollywood, it's not escaping this one untouched. Those old pig party rumors are roaring back louder than ever. People are already side-eyeing Sean Combs' infamous gatherings, replaying Jaguar Wright's confessions, and rewatching Kanye's rants about Donda with fresh suspicion. Now, throw in the headline of a 15-year-old found in a Tesla linked to a rising star. And suddenly, every old rumor feels brand new again. So what happens next? Maybe it all fades away, just another scandal lost in Hollywood's endless scroll. Or maybe someone else steps up, another insider who's had enough, another truth teller like Katt Williams, willing to risk everything to say what others are too scared to admit. Because here's the cold irony. The more Hollywood stays silent, the louder the whispers get. And right now, those whispers are saying something dark, that Celeste wasn't just a victim. She was allegedly a sacrifice. And if that's even halfway true, then David's story isn't the start of a fairy tale. It's the beginning of a curse.